An older sibling to six siblings, an older sister with such high aspirations, Kayla expresses her culture views and what motivates her to strive for her fullest potential. I had the great honor to interview Kayla Hang. I had the privilege of learning more of her viewpoint and how she views certain topics. Hello, Kayla. Thank you for joining me today. Can you start off by introducing yourself, maybe in your native language, and if you grew up in the USA and then translate it to English?
Sure, nhớ trong của bé hùa cắm bao câu mong sinh hạ của you how lưu thông Sheboygan sinh Wisconsin that she know của nhớ how lưu thông Cottage Grove sinh Minnesota. Hello, my name is Kayla. I was born in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and I currently reside in Cottage Grove, Minnesota.
Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Biology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a certificate in Health and the Humanities. I am a pre-med student. Currently, I am working at a Hmong private practice here in Minnesota as a medical assistant, and I am currently studying for the MCAT, planning on applying this June.
My next question is, can you tell me if you have any ties or connection with the Hmong community?
I definitely try to do as much as I can to help out within the Hmong community. I with my upbringing, I am a very spiritual person because my family does practice shamanism. So growing up, I've always been a very spiritual person. Um, as for the Hmong community, I do try to volunteer and help out with different Hmong associations within Wisconsin.
Thank you. So, what is the Hmong religion?
The Hmong religion is shamanism. Shamanism is the belief in which a shaman or a healer will serve as the middleman between the physical world and the spiritual world. And he will go between both worlds to help treat and heal illnesses that we believe are caused due to spiritual forces. When it comes to religion, I think this is the situation in a lot of other uh, ethnicities as well. But with us immigrating here to the US, a lot of our religion, a lot of our culture is becoming lost because a lot of the younger generation are wanting to integrate into more of the American lifestyle. And so one of the biggest struggle that is happening right now in the Hmong culture is the loss of that knowledge. So with the younger Hmong American individuals, a lot of us are choosing to not practice the Hmong culture and religion, or a lot of us don't speak the Hmong language anymore, that it's hard to practice the Hmong religion if we can't speak the Hmong language. I think one of the biggest problems right now is the younger generation of Hmong Americans are choosing to integrate more into the American culture than they are choosing to integrate into the Hmong religion, the Hmong culture. So, for an example, the Hmong elderly have the capability of teaching us younger generation how to continue the Hmong religion, the Hmong culture, but a lot of us Hmong Americans are one choosing not to practice the Hmong religion, or two no longer can speak the Hmong language, and so understanding the elderly when they're trying to teach us is very hard.
Okay, so do you think that what you have just spoken about is a struggle in the USA?
It definitely is a huge struggle. In the USA, I think I kind of mentioned this before too, but people in my generation, I like to think of us Hmong people in three generations. So we have the elderly who immigrated here from the US, have trauma from the war, trauma from immigrating here. And then we have us young adults who were born in the US, but then we were raised by our parents who were not born in the US. And then we have the younger generation who were born in the US and now have totally taken the American culture, can't even speak Hmong. A lot of these people in this generation can't even speak Hmong anymore. And so it's really hard for young adults like me and you who are in this middle section where we're trying to straddle between both worlds. We're trying to still engage with our elderly, trying to learn to speak the Hmong language, trying to learn the Hmong culture, but then also relating and integrating ourselves with the youth who are now all about the American culture and have totally lost the Hmong culture. So it's really hard because there's a lot of that straddling back and forth between the two worlds.
Do you or anyone you know practice shamanism?
I personally do not know a shaman, but typically in the Hmong culture, families will have a certain individual that they go to in case they need spiritual shamanism ceremonies performed.
So, would you say that a Hmong clergy is a shaman?
I would say so. Shamanism, you have to be chosen to be a shaman. So we believe that our ancestors will choose who the shamans are. And so, in order to practice shamanism, in order to be a shaman, you have to be chosen by the spiritual world.
So, I know you have aspirations of becoming a physician. How does becoming a doctor relate to the Hmong religion?
So ever since I was a little girl, I knew I wanted to become a doctor, a physician to give back to the Hmong community. I think what I really want to do is to bridge that gap. I want to bridge that gap between the spiritual belief that we have in the Hmong religion and then the scientific knowledge that we have in the Western medicine. I want to be able to bridge that gap so that I can help patients who are Hmong that are living here in the United States that are struggling with this um, struggling with straddling both worlds. I want to validate their religion beliefs, but then also inform them of the scientific reasoning as to why they may be ill.
Okay. Now, can you tell me the Hmong culture or religion's perspective on modern medicine?
So the thing that's really hard about the Hmong culture and then Western medicine is that the Hmong people, if there is no illness, no symptoms, then they think they're perfectly fine. They don't believe in asymptomatic illnesses. So, for an example, in Western medicine, they want you to do an annual checkup, an annual physical at least once a year. They want you to do well child exams to prevent illnesses, right? We call these preventative care exams. In the Hmong culture, they don't believe in such thing. They think, oh, I'm only going to wait until I start feeling sick, then I will seek help. For example, diabetes starts off as an asymptomatic illness. You don't really notice the signs until years and years pass. And so Hmong people with who are diabetic may think, oh, I'm perfectly fine. I have no symptoms. I'm not sick. I don't need to go see the doctor. But really, they don't understand that the reason why Western medicine requires to do preventative care is so that you're doing these, you know, s- um, 6 months blood draw to check up on your A1C, on your blood sugar to make sure that it's not in the diabetic range. And like I said, diabetic starts off as asymptomatic. Some people think they're fine when really they should be seeking help for diabetes. So because the Hmong people only believe they're sick when there are symptoms, if they go to a doctor, have no symptom, and the doctor tells them, "Hey, you're diabetic," they're gonna be like, "No, I don't believe you. I don't trust you. That's a lie. I don't have any symptoms." That is one of the big reasons as to why a lot of Hmong people are having poor quality of life here in the US is because of this mistrust. They don't see symptoms. They aren't having any symptoms. So when a doctor is telling them that they have an illness, they're like, "No, I don't believe you." A lot of times these people don't even speak English, so it's all through a translator, and it's a lot of this going back and forth and trying to make them understand that, oh, all because you don't have symptoms doesn't mean that you're not sick.
So, with this mistrust between the patient, a Hmong patient, and a doctor, do Hmong patients turn to anything known as Hmong medicine that they believe in?
Yeah, so a lot of times if a doctor prescribes some pills, they typically will take it from the doctor from the at the clinic, but once they get home, they won't take it. What they'll end up doing is they'll turn to Hmong herbal medicine. So in the Hmong culture, herbal medicine is what we believe will help heal any kind of sickness or illness aside from a shaman. So if they feel that they want to call out to a shaman for help, they will. Otherwise, they will turn to herbal medicine. Um, because the Hmong people are from the mountains of Laos, back then we didn't have access to medicine in pill we didn't have access to medicine in pill form. We couldn't just drive to a pharmacy to pick up medication. We had to go outside and look for herbs and pretty much any kind of plants that we would then take home and boil and drink it as a tea.
So, are there any practices the Hmong religion does that they try to replace modern medicine?
I think going back to preventative care, there's three main ceremonies that we practice. In Oning is when the shaman will fall into this trance and he'll enter into the spiritual world in order to like heal or call back the spirit of the ill or negotiate with the spirits on the other side to help heal the ill. One thing that we do in the Hmong religion is called Kite. It is a ceremony usually performed by a shaman or an elderly who knows how to do the correct verbiage to call a spirit back and bless the person that is the ceremony is for. So it's called Kite, and what we do is we tie a string on their hand to bless them and to wish them well and to prevent them from getting sick. And I think that is one thing that the Hmong religion does that Western medicine sees that as preventative care. So instead of going to see a doctor for their annual checkup, they might do an annual kite instead. Another ceremony that we practice in the Hmong religion is called hupli. As I mentioned before, we are strongly spiritually based. We everything we do is we believe that it has to do with spiritual forces, and so in the Hmong culture, we believe that each person has three spirits. And when a person is sick, it is believed that the spirit of that person is either lost or frightened. And so we will usually perform these Hupli ceremonies, which is where we call the spirit back. And a lot of times during those ceremonies, what we will do is we will sacrifice an animal um, in order to call that spirit back home.
So, what are the Hmong ethics of these practices you have mentioned?
So shamanism, like I said, has to do with going between the physical world and the spiritual world. We believe that our ancestors are up above watching over us. And so shamanism is the belief of ancestor worship. We worship our ancestors and we do a lot of um, animal sacrifices to honor and worship our ancestors.
So, thank you for your perspective on shamanism and modern medicine. Aside from the Hmong religion and modern medicine, I would like to dive deeper into shamanism and the Hmong culture. As a female in the Hmong culture, are there any different responsibilities or ways of life that are different compared to a male in the Hmong community?
So in the Hmong culture, we are still very patriarchy. So Hmong men are seen higher than Hmong women. Typically at a gathering, women are expected to prepare the meal. And once the meal is prepared, the men are the first to eat, and then Hmong women will eat afterwards. Once we are all done with the meal, the women are expected to clean up while the men will sit somewhere and converse with one another and wait for the Hmong women to finish cleaning up.
And do you know what the Hmong community's perspective on sexual orientation issues is?
There are many aspects of our culture that has definitely have revolved, and the idea of being able to choose your sexual orientation has definitely become more accepted than it would have been 10-20 years ago. I think in 10-20 years ago it would have been really shunned upon and very taboo for you to come out as a gender that you weren't born as, but as of today in this day and age it's definitely become more supported and more understood.
Thank you. And what is the Hmong culture or religion's belief on salvation?
So it's my understanding in the Hmong culture, we really believe in reincarnation. And so it's believed that whatever karma, whatever bad you do in this lifetime, you will pay for it in your next lifetime. So it's just reincarnation is what we believe in.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Kayla.
Thanks for having me. Bye bye.